Natafuta ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake.
Ugali ni sosa.
Ugali lazima nilizaliwa nikikula ugali sosa. And so that is the way to go. It's ugali all the way. That's the way we keep it healthy, man.
You've composed big music.
Yes.
Is it paying?
It is paying. It is not paying enough. Everybody chooses their battles. Everybody chooses their lines. Everybody chooses how they want to make their money. Just make sure that it's not by fluke. Make sure it is scientifically processed, and make sure that you take a path that has strategy.
Welcome to the History Makers show this week, and in this episode we are hanging out with none other than the biggest gospel artist, a man who gave us ugali sosa. Sijui kama bado anakula ugali sosa or he stopped eating, he's now eating other things like chips, or because he's traveled the world. Man Ingwe.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm still eating ugali sosa anytime.
Ugali ni sosa.
Ugali lazima nilizaliwa nikikula ugali sosa. And so that is the way to go. It's ugali all the way. That's the way we keep it healthy, man.
That's why you have a big booty.
I don't think this is big. This is just good enough. just good enough for me. At least you can't push me over, you know. It's important.
Lazima muluya akule vizuri.
Exactly. Muhimu sana kukula vizuri, afya, kujilinda, kukua, let me call that fit.
Tell us about your journey, Man Ingwe.
My journey is very interesting. It just matters the perspective that you want to take, but I can introduce the man.
Introduce the man,
yes.
And then introduce why Ingwe.
Exactly.
Because the leopard is known for another team, which is a rival to my team, which I support.
Okay. The interesting thing is that, let me settle the leopard thing.
Yes.
Leopard means, Ingwe means leopard.
Yes, of course.
And the reason why the football club AFC calls itself Ingwe, it is because the FC Leopards is carved out of the Luya culture. It was actually a Baluya football club.
I know.
AFC.
Yes.
Now, Ingwe is the king of the jungle. The leopard is the king of the jungle. There are no lions in our place. So the most fierce animal in my community is
Ingwe.
The leopard. It is the Ingwe. So I chose to call myself, you know, the toughest, the EST, the best, the fastest.
You see, that's why even now you have a party in Western Kenya called DAP with the Ingwe in the label.
Yes, so they identify with the Ingwe sign, you know, as their logo, because the Luya man, the Luya person resonates with the leopard. You know, it is an aspiration to greater ideals. It's an aspiration to power. It's an aspiration to, like, it's like the royalty. You get my point? It's like the royalty. So when you call me Ingwe, you're actually calling me the great one. You know, like it's like the king. You get my point?
I get you.
But now, the boy was born in Kakamega County, a place called Ingotse. Born again to a very royal family, just so you know.
You know, the Luyas have very many sub-tribes. So Ingotse, which sub-tribe? And we know only Wangas are royal.
Well, we could debate all day, okay?
Yes.
It just matters what was documented versus what is not documented. So there are a lot of African stories that were not documented by the African persons. But if you listen to the stories, if you listen to the guys who are like twice your age, they will tell you a lot of stories that you wish were documented in actual sense. So I'm born of the Batsotso. The Batsotso. Yeah. Umtoto. Right? So Batsotso are found in the larger Lurambi, and portions of Navaholo. The sub-tribe is called Avatamanyene and Umtamanyene Lichena. Mukoya. Yeah, so it is what it is. So I'm a fifth born to... My father is a farmer, an accountant, a soccer player, coach player. He actually used to sponsor a football club. He was a musician, taught by the whites, of course. Used to do drama, used to do music, used to play football, ended up to be an accountant, a farmer, a politician, was once chairman Kakamega Town Planning. That's my dad. Man, that's royalty. You can take that to the bank.
Yes.
My mom is a teacher, pastor, a philanthropist. I think basically that's it. So my mother is called Stella Munala. Munala is my father's name and my grandfather's name. So my father is Peter Munala Murunga, the son of Max Munala.
Munala.
Yeah. Murunga is my father's middle name, so I'm the one who uses Munala as a surname. Okay. Or rather, I'm the one who uses Murunga as a surname. Yeah, so that's really where I was born. I schooled in several schools, and there's a story to that. I primarily because when my mother was a teacher, she was transferred hapa na pale, and like she moved with me. But around my age of 8 to 10 years, I lost my tangent a little bit. Peer pressure, bad company kidogo. Did a few silly things.
What is that silly?
Here and there, drinking, smoking. I once tested bang once in my lifetime.
Why did you test only once?
Peer pressure, just peer pressure, just peer pressure. The people around me, my schoolmates and my peers.
But that is in primary school.
That's in primary school, lower, class 3. You get my point?
Where did you get it from? How did you get it?
My father had the money, and they knew where to get it, and they influenced me, and I was the sponsor.
Oh, you are the rich kid.
I was the cool kid.
In the village, basically you are the rich kid. So you could have some
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. My father was the first guy to have a real Honda 150cc. Those days, that's not a joke. Yeah. So yeah, my father grew up as an orphan. But worked very hard to become, very, very successful. And he taught us, great lessons in life. So I was still telling my story. Then my parents now isolated me from that environment, took me to stay with my uncle, my maternal uncle, and I was living somewhere in Mumias, a place called Mwitoti. So I repeated class 3, and then I was now taken to boarding school, St. Peter's Mumias Boys, where I did class 4 up to class 7. By the time I was in class 8, there was need for me to come back home together with all of my other siblings. My father couldn't keep up the pace. The financial commitments were too heavy. The entire family was in school, including my mother, who was now in college training pastoral, doing a transition from teaching into pastoral. So those of us who were the young ones, we came back kusomea nyumbani Ushago. So I schooled in a school called Shikoti Mixed Primary for my class 8. I performed very well. I was actually the best in my division, Lurambe division. I was the best male student.
Congratulations.
Yes. And I got 553 marks out of 700 those days. That was good from that village school. Yeah. I proceeded to African Government School, Kakamega High. Thank you.
The Green Commandos.
The Green Commandos, guys. So that was a great place, a place I learned a lot of my current skills. I ended up being a prefect from day one, ended up to be deputy head student of the school. I was the team leader of drama by the time I was in
Under Oliver Minishi?
Under Oliver Minishi. By the time I was in Form 2 heading 3, I was deputy head student. I was the leader of the drama team. I was a lead in the music, in the school choir. I was doing everything in choir, like the main choir, the small choir, the quartet, like 4 guys, and then I would still do solo pieces. And I used to perform well, like all of them. So Minishi was my mentor. He taught me physics, and also trained me drama. He's the one who taught me discipline. He's the type of guy who could take us to class at 5 a.m. to make sure we cover the syllabus, we be ahead of the syllabus, and he would still supervise when we are in the school bus going for drama festivals, make sure that we are reading and studying books. We go perform, away from school. No, tukimaliza kuperform, he asks for a class, puts all of us in class with the books, tunafanya mtihani and all those things. So we used to do exams ahead of the other kids. We used to do our assignments. We were ahead of the syllabus even at that time. So yeah, Kakamega High School was a good breeding ground for me. That's where I built much of my my
Your
personal,
skills.
my interpersonal skills, my leadership, sharpened my academic prowess and all that. Yeah, then I went to KU, where I studied biochemistry. Then I've been here and there. I've worked in a few places. I've worked in Faulu, Kenya as a development finance officer.
Yes.
I've worked at Safaricom as a customer care executive. I've worked in church as a pastoral intern, and then I now transitioned in music. My transition to music was I was at Safaricom at the time, and so when Ugali Sosa blew up and my other songs, Boda Boda, Wrong Number, and what have you, and there was a lot of commitments out there to go and perform and do music. It was now competing with my workspace. I couldn't keep up with the pressure at work. So I had to ask myself the tough questions, if I gave it my best here in my employment, will I still be doing it 50 years down the line? Will the company come for my funeral? Those kind of those kind of hard questions.
Yes.
And I was like, let me take this trajectory, and no regrets. It's been
paying. It's been
it's paid off. It's paid off. When you get to a place where your peers say that when I grow up I want to be a musician, it means you're doing good.
So let's go back to the music scene.
Yes, please.
And how did you've done enough, almost, I think 4 albums?
I don't count. I have 180 songs which are not even condensed in an album.
Some of them are not even...
Some of them have never been released anywhere.
So
I just do for the passion.
Yes.
I just do for the passion.
Yeah.
Whatever works. But I'm never short of content in my library.
There's a lot of content. So let's get to Ugali Sosa. What influenced Ugali Sosa?
People think I sang about Ugali. The interesting thing about how I make my music is that there is a principle that guides how I write my music.
Yes.
So I write my music, number one, because I care for identity to start with.
Yeah.
I care for my African identity. I care for my Kenyan identity. I'm proud of who I am. So one of the things that I do when I'm composing my music is that I do not like losing my Kenyan identity. It's very core to me. Secondly, I was taught by what I consider to be the best producer of all time, if you ask me, RK, Robert Kamanzi.
Fantastic.
Robert Kamanzi is the one who gave me the lead on how to do music. I went to his studio, and by that time I actually had the whole album. Had the whole album that I had recorded. And I was trying to ask him why it's not working. And he took time to listen to my music. And he told me that the simpler the better.
Of course.
The simpler the better. Music is meant to be entertainment to start with. Forget about the fact that it's also inspirational, educational, and all that. But the bottom line is that it's supposed to be entertainment. So you don't want entertainment that feels like another lecture hall.
Yeah.
So you want to keep it simple. You want to make it as much easy as possible. So I kept that as part of the thread. Now, I compose and write my music in a reciprocal manner. Ugali Sosa. I was preaching a message which is in the book of Matthew chapter 6 verse 33, and now seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these other things shall be added unto you. So I asked myself, how do I communicate and convey this message with simplicity?
Yes.
And keep my identity. And I was also deliberate about the fact that much of my content talks about serious things. Talks about serious issues. If I start talking to you about righteousness, my brother, you might doze on me midway. If I start talking to you about seeking the kingdom of God, the narrow path.
Yes.
You get my point? It's hard stuff. So I also made a deliberate choice to give a light icing, the icing on the cake, to be a little bit of humor. So when I do my songs, these principles are the ones that guide. So I ask myself, how can I convey this message? What is it that is simple, easy to relate, is Kenyan, is African, is the kawaida thing?
What you can see.
What you can see, whereby if you get the main thing, you can actually get a bonus for it. So there was chai choma there. There was, what else do people get? Nini ingine watu ongezanga supu.
Chapo madondo.
Hii inanga bonus. I don't think so. You must have been a cool kid, you. So ugali sosa like stood out.
Yes.
Ugali sosa really stood out, and I was like, boom, I got it.
This is it.
Yeah. So that's really how I did it. It was reciprocal. It's you know like starting from the front, coming backwards.
So then, you've traveled widely. You've composed big music.
Yes.
Is it paying?
Yes, it is paying. It is paying. And, you know, when you ask me, is it paying? I know you're not asking me. I know you are asking in the general scope, you know, like, does the industry reward? It is paying. It is not paying enough. However, if you understand the dynamics, if you understand how the market works, if you understand how you can position it, because it's all about positioning. So first of all, you have to like establish your niche. Let's begin from there. There are a lot of big artists with big names who are broke, if you ask me, by my standards. But there are other artists whom you would otherwise call river road artists or what have you.
With a lot of money.
But these are guys who make money in 6 figures, you know, very regularly. You get my point?
I do get it.
There is this time we were having problems with our skiza, and there were court battles, you know.
I remember, yeah.
And then for about 6-7 months, we were not being paid these revenues. And then, you know, it now came in bulk, and people are now being paid, and you could hear the kind of figures that people were earning. Guys like Eric Wainaina, I think we were talking about stuff like, what was it, 22 or 24 million? You know, I think there is an artist whom, okay, because it's a sad story, I'll not mention the name. There's an artist who had like a case around her music, you know, like the rights were being claimed, and there was about 24 million that was involved. You know, the artist, you know, like literally fainted. So the answer is that yes, it pays. If you are able to position yourself, first of all, identify your niche. Upon identifying your niche, then brand yourself accordingly, position yourself accordingly, then know how to exploit your music, for money, know the revenues, the revenue streams that are available, whether it is airplay, whether it is royalties, whether it is you know, money that comes from the CMOs. Basically, it's money collected as royalties and money that is collected for performances in, you know, in public places and stuff like that. How you can exploit your skiza tunes, if it is about, you know, gigs and performances, if it is being able to merchandise your brand, if you're able to now franchise, you know, like take advantage of your good name and, you know, like diversify. So for example, an artist will make a good brand out there, and they will tell themselves that I have to keep just pushing and keep pushing music and music and music and music. Well, that will be okay if that is the path that they have chosen to do. But there are so many other things that you can franchise on your good name, which are not necessarily directly music related. But if music has helped you create a brand, then you can franchise that brand and do something else that can benefit from the visibility of your brand. So there are many ways to look at it. So does it pay? Yes. Music itself pays, and there are other available trickle down that you can diversify into, because I think our economy is not so big like the American economy, where you just say that because you are a musician, all the money will just come in because you have good music and all that. But everybody chooses their battles, everybody chooses their lines, everybody chooses how they want to make their money. Just make sure that it's not by fluke. Make sure it is scientifically processed, and make sure that you take a path that has strategy. Natafuta ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake, na vitu vyote vile vizuri utaongezewa kama ugali sosa huwezi pewa ugali sosa kama bado hujanunua. Basi mwenzangu, mtafute Mungu, utaongezewa ugali
sosa.
Na kugonga ugongeki.
Bana, niko sawa.
Tuna test ugali ya mleo, una test ukigonga. Ikikwama kwa uso ni mbichi, inafaa igonge irudi kama tennis.
Unajua my friend cameraman Danny Mani ule anaturecord saa hii. Amemiss ugali ya brown akisema hivyo.
Hata ya brown, kwanza ya brown wale wanapika mostly wanapika mbichi. Ya brown unafaa nani hivi ukitoa hivi it should not be on mkono, inafaa ikuwe clean kabisa ndio imeiva. So ambia Dan kama mkono haikuangi safi alete bibi nifundishe kupika ugali. So tell us, Man Ingwe.
Yes. You are doing the politics of MCSK, the politics of music,
yes,
and the royalty politics,
yes.
And then from there, I want you to move into another space, and the space of people who are influencing. And that case of Gloria Muliro and Man Ingwe. Before I go to other questions.
Okay, so let me begin with CMOs. First of all, even just listening to you, people have a smaller understanding of the players in the music industry. MCSK is just one player, but there are two other major players. So the CMOs, basically meaning collective management organizations,
yes.
Which means that I, as an artist, we are so many. We are probably in thousands and hundreds of thousands. So we can't all be coming to KTN to say that, hey, man, my music iko namna gani. You get my point?
I do get it.
We can't all be going to Safaricom and saying, iko namna gani. But this resource is managed collectively by what we call collective management organization, the CMOs. But they represent specific rights. So there is the right of a composer or an author of music.
Yes.
Then there is another right by a publisher, like the person who exploits it in the marketplace. That is how our craft is segmented. There is another right for performance, like if you played a guitar in somebody's song, there's a right that you have in that particular song.
Yes.
If you did backup vocalists for an artist, you have a right. If you perform, it is a right that can be exploited on its own. And then there is what we call the producers, executive producers. So producers are represented by an organization called CAMP, Kenya Association of Music Producers.
Yes, CAMP, yes.
And then there is PRISC for
performing
performance
rights.
Yes. And then MCSK represents two rights as of today, which is the author and composers, and then also the publishers. So let's get that out of the way first. Now, these organizations have been having problems both intrinsically and extrinsically. Intrinsically because among themselves, they have had misunderstandings. They have had misunderstandings. MCSK has misunderstandings with the CAMP and the PRISC over, like ratios, like how much should go to MCSK, what percentage should go to these others. And then there is also another player, which is Kenya Copyright Board. We call it Kekobo. Is another entity that is mentioned out there like a big animal that is in the forest.
It's
but
with a lot of fur.
Exactly. But it's actually the government regulator.
Yes.
The government regulator. Yeah. And there have been issues to and fro, where the regulator wants things to be done in a certain way, and then the CMOs feel like, you are encroaching on our space, and those kind of things. I would classify those to be intrinsic battles amongst the CMOs themselves.
Actually, there are four. CAMP, PRSK,
CAMP, PRISC, and then MCSK. But the rights are four, but the organizations are three.
Yes, and then Kekobo is the
Kekobo is now, Kekobo is a government agency.
Yes.
It is the regulator. Yes. So again, there have been misunderstandings and also accusations of conflict of interest and those kind of stuff. So I may not explicitly talk about them because, again, to split the hairs and isolate, speculations and rumors from facts is neither here nor there. Now, the extrinsic factor is, according to me, the fact that these CMOs have, by the way they have conducted themselves, to me they give me the impression that there is very little understanding as to who the boss is. You, in your place of work, the customer is the boss.
Is the key.
Everything that you do, you are doing it so that the customer keeps the loyalty with you, so that the customer keeps coming, and the customer is always willing to spend their money on you. That's where you get value for the shareholder. Now, the CMOs, in my thinking, the attitude with which they operate most of the time is devoid of that understanding that the artist is actually the reason why they are in business, that the artist is the reason why they report to office every day. The artist is the person whose interest they must take care of in order for them to even have a job in the first place.
That's why they sent Calligraph Jones 2,500.
I will not commit my answer to that, but something close to that.
Yes.
You get my point.
Yes.
But how do they get into place? How do they get into being? It is the kawaida shida za Kenya. We cry about a bad economy. We cry about, a screwed up government and that kind of a thing. But yet, when we are offered an election, we leave the good guys and elect the same persons. The directors of these CMOs are elected directly by the artists.
Of course. And they elect the people who, some of them are not even actively in music.
So where is the problem? This is the problem, if you ask me. The successful artists think that the trajectory of their career is on autopilot.
Yeah.
Their music will sell whether MCSK is doing well or not. They will still get their money. They fail to understand how much they lose. Almost 70% of the worth of their income.
Yeah.
Yes, they lose close to 70% worth of their revenue simply by letting that organization be mismanaged. Why is it mismanaged? The people who show interest, go and attend the AGMs, go and attend the seminars that are called by MCSK. Calligraph Jones, you will not find him there. You ask him whether he has ever attended one single meeting of them. He'll tell you he's not been there. All the big artists that you may want to mention, any name that you may want to throw at me, I haven't seen them there. I have not seen them participating in the process of even streamlining MCSK. They would only come to complain later. But they don't want to take charge. They don't want to be involved. They do not want to either be elected directly or influence the process of elections.
Yes.
Exactly. So how do you get people, and I want to be respectful here, how do you get people who have very little or no management background at all, or even education, and I still want to remain respectful, and then expect them to manage a corporation with the potential of $1 billion economy? How do you want them to manage that? When they see that kind of money, see wanaruka kichwa, and they start finding out how they can
feast.
Exactly my point. So that is part of the problem, that the elite artists
have shied
away
from the politics of MCSK
exactly,
or any corporate governing body of
if you
music.
ask me, it is a political entity.
Yes.
The only way you put the governing council, the way the constitution is written, and even the way the regulator has stipulated,
I saw
it is through an
Nonini
election.
trying to get there. Nonini tried to get there. Frasha tried to get in there. Buganya, P-Unit tried to get in there.
What these guys did,
Yes.
okay, first of all, they partly challenged the operations.
Yes.
All right, through court process and what have you. But then they went and created another organization. Was it called Miake or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Was it music industry?
Association of Kenya.
Exactly.
I remember, led by my friend Bensoft,
okay.
Bernard Kioko.
Now, there are other entities. There are other entities and other organizations that have come, along the way. We have had Mpake. We have had those another one. So basically, all I'm saying is, people have tried to create alternative organizations to counter the operations of the legally recognized and established CMOs, because they are licensed by the regulator.
Okay.
You get my point?
Okay.
So, let me put it this way. Every media house is licensed by the Communications Authority
CAK
of Kenya, okay? So, if your organization is not licensed by CAK, even if it is registered in the registrar of societies and all that as an entity, but if you are not licensed by the regulator, you are not licensed. You get my point?
Understand.
So, according to me, our artists needed to understand that, first of all, we operate in a legal regime.
Which they do not understand.
I think they don't.
Do not understand.
And then try to streamline the lives. Exactly. What is existing? Because it is possible. Yeah. If you ask me, it is possible. Even if you try to get in and go through an election and you don't make it, if your heart is there, you should be willing to invest as a continuous process, not kama mgeni wa kupitia wa siku moja.
Alafu natoroka.
Exactly.
And then let's
point.
move on to, I think you've executed that point fairly and competently.
Thank you.
Let's move to your jobs you are doing with the kids and influencing other people.
Okay, this is what I think. I think that I am who I am, and I have come to be who I am today because of cumulative contributions from different people and different entities at different times. So it has formed and shaped my mantra to the extent that I actually think that if every kid is given a fair opportunity to thrive, they actually have a practical chance to just be as successful as any of the success stories that we have. There are various limitations in people's individual lives. There are people whose limitations are because they didn't have the privilege of having parents. There are people whose limitations is because they had the challenge of poverty. Others probably had the challenge of a good school and that kind of a thing. So personally, I think that if we want to have a fair society that is more progressive, then each and every one of us needs to care that we contribute directly to the lives of our kids so that we remove as much barriers as possible in their lives. Why do I say so? I spent a lot of time in my village home.
In Basoso?
In Butsotso. Because I believe, I care, and I desire that it should just be as prosperous, as nice, and as admirable as Nairobi. Trust you me, when I'm here in my home in Kitengela, I usually feel congested. I usually feel it's noisy. I feel it's dusty. I feel it's congested. I love my free space.
Back in the village.
Back in the village.
Yes.
And I want my kids to like the village. I want them to feel when I tell them that we are going home, I want them to celebrate. And that is the case. Even today, when I tell my kids we are going home, they're like, yeah, man, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Exactly. But a majority of kids, if you tell them that they are going home, they feel like you are taking them for punishment. Or if they go after a day or two, they will ask you if they can come back to Nairobi. Why did I say that? These kids have a neighborhood. These kids of mine,
yes,
they have a neighborhood. The children they play with, the children who come home to play with, and I allow my children to go to the neighborhood. There may be one or two homes in the neighborhood that we have feuds over something. We don't agree over a matter, or we have disagreed over a matter. I will not make the mistake of telling my children that huyo mtu na huyo mtu. No. Wacha waende wajionee wenyewe. Kama huyo mtu ni mbaya, they will know. Kama wewe ni mbaya, boss, itajulikana tu. Within 2-3 days, the children will know this is not a very good guy. Exactly my point. So I want my children to be assimilated. But where am I assimilating them?
In what community?
Exactly. It means I have to care. I have to care where I am assimilating them. I have to care the community that I'm putting them into. And therefore, I decided to progressively be involved in the lives of the general community.
Okay.
To make sure that if I can be part of the solutions, to make sure they have clean water, I will do it. If I am able to be part of the solution to make sure they have access to good education, for example, getting a teacher or two, having a conversation with them and saying, hey, by the way, there are kids who come to my home. Don't tell me that's child labor. There are kids who come to my home, not really because it is important for them to work to earn a wage, but because they cherish the breakfast they will eat. Did you hear that? There are kids who come to my home and they would ask for work. But if you talk to them, you will realize that they were not motivated by the work that they seek.
They're motivated by
They
what?
are motivated that the meal they will eat might be the only meal they will have eaten for that particular day. Now, it's very easy to want to give them handouts. It will not solve their issues. The moment you're out of the equation, that will not be sustainable. So it is okay to engage them to a scale of work that looks like you're just teaching them how to work hard. But at the same time, support them where they can. Those who are in school, I ask, why are you not in school? Today is Monday, so why did you come? Then a kid will tell you they don't have this. How much is that? 150. It's not even a lot of money.
No, in the village it's not.
Exactly, it's not a lot of money. So you support where you can, you help where you can, but you can't do this for every other kid. So for me, it is important that I then work out, or it was important for me to work out a resource center whereby some of these kids who may not, there are some, you go to their homes and they're doing homework na korobo ile ya moshi. Homework. You get my point? So I would allow them to come to my home, spend time with me, read using my electricity, and a table. You don't need much. They have their own books. They just need to sit there, read, do their homework. You talk to a teacher, 2, 3 teachers, talk to them, give them a few incentives, ask them to tuition these kids. And when they perform better and you continue to be part of the mentorship program, even as they proceed, number one, they will be the perfect neighbors for your children. Your children will live peacefully. They will not be afraid on who is trying to steal from them. But number two, you will have added to the number of people whom, when there is a problem in the community, if I supported you and now you have a few shillings, if I call you and told you there is this community project, why don't you put in 1,000 shillings, I'll put in 2. They will help, and that is how you grow a community.
Agree. So that's mentorship, and I think our time is running out. So 2 last questions quickly, and we make them very short.
Okay.
Gloria Muliro.
Yep.
You influenced her. She's in the States. How is she doing?
She's doing fine. Gloria is a personal friend. We've come a long way. She has been to my home, even to my village home, to visit my mother, and all that. As in, our friendship is that personal. Okay. When she was beginning as an artist, I met with her during one of the launches. Marcelina. Marcelina is also a gospel musician. We met at Kenya Polytechnic. She came to me, asked me, how could you support me, bro? I said, well, that's fine. I gave her a date. We met in town somewhere around Bomb Blast. We went up a development house to Kararo Ugali na Kuku.
Yeah.
No, chai. Chai, Muluya. No, chai. Chai ni dessert, my friend. Tukakula ugali na kukuchoma. Yes, na kukuchoma. Then I asked her, so what is it? Then she explained her vision, her dream, and her desires. I told her that fine. She told me she's trying to work on an album at Melmax. At that particular time, Wallace was the producer.
Wallace, yeah.
So I listened to the music that she was doing. I told her, yeah, this is a good song. This is a good one. This one, I don't like it. This one may not go far. This one, we need to turn it around. So one of the songs that I turned around and changed and, worked the chorus differently is a song that we collaborated with her inaitwa, it's a Luya song, Bolera Yesu. Bolera Yesu, Bolera Yesu. I'm the one who wrote that chorus, so that was it. And then because I had taken 3 songs out of the list, we now realized that her album was deficient. So I also suggested a few of my own personal songs, like the collaboration. We did a worship song, Nani Kama Wewe, Nani Kama Wewe, Nani Kama Wewe, Mungu. So you can sing. We'll do a collab very soon. So that was my composition. And I asked her to add to like to her album. It wasn't meant to be a collaboration. Actually, I just asked her to sing. And then, I told her you could sing like this. And then I recorded. And then she made the choice and said, wacha ikae bro. I said, okay, this other song, nitamtukuza Jehova milele daima, tukuza. It was also my composition, so I contributed those songs to put her album together. And we have walked this journey. I've seen her grow in leaps and bounds. I've seen her flourish and finally become a big brand on herself. And I said, yeah, that is the meaning of it.
That's how you
even me Rafton supported me, gave me a collaboration in one of my songs, Yesu ni Beste. And then when I did Ugalisosa, Ikablo, and there I was, and I continued. That's how it should be. You support somebody. You don't support them because they don't have content. No, they have content. They just need a tweak here and there. So you support them, do it. When it blossoms, let them run with it.
So what is ailing gospel industry currently? What happened?
What happened? You have to tell me what happened first before you ask me why it happened. But I can give you just a simple overview if you ask me.
Yes.
What looks up gospel industry is Groove Awards, and I'll say that without blinking my eyes. I could even
you are talking now.
I could even let my guard go.
Put it down. Why?
So, what screwed up gospel industry is Groove Awards.
Why did the Groove Awards do that?
They did not mess up the gospel industry because they came around, but they messed it because they came around and then shaped a narrative which made every other artist to align and position themselves accordingly. You shape up or shape out.
Yes, shape out or ship out.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you. And then, when everybody has now aligned, and I'm not saying that the alignment was the good thing, I'm just saying that everybody gets into the industry with the intention to succeed, all right? And so when the key performance indicators are put there, that you're supposed to have this title, award-winning artist. I'm a history maker. I'm not an award-winning artist, by the way.
Very good. You are here in the history makers.
Exactly. I'm not an award-winning. I've been nominated for Groove Awards 3 years in a row, but I never won it. It was not a big deal for me. Some of the guys who have won, well, I see some of the guys say a lot of big stories. Sometimes I challenge them and say, well, show me what you got. Me, Nalipa school fees, and I can show you A, B, C, D.
Yes.
Show me what you got. But that's not the topic. So, after the artists have aligned, the biggest blunder that they did, which in actual sense, according to me, and Kev can take me on if he should, is that I don't think he was in it for the passion.
What do you mean Kev wasn't in for the passion?
He wasn't in it for the passion, because how do you turn a whole industry, put a spotlight in a direction, and then after everybody has clamored and faced that direction, you shut up and then you open a secular radio station? Give me the science in that. Give me the logic in that.
Man Ingwe.
Let's be critical thinkers for once. He was not in it for the passion. And I will say, and I will tell him on his face, if he was before me, I will tell him that he owes the music industry. If indeed he meant well, if indeed it was for the passion, if he ever had a vision for it that was anything that was bigger and much more precious than money, he owes the gospel industry. That's where our mess began. Because when Groove Awards was removed, that is when our foundations were checked and shaken, that we were standing on shallow ground. We were never looking the right direction in the first place.
Yes.
We were not content driven. We were not passion driven. We were not mission purpose driven. We were driven to be successful, and the key performance indicators of success were to be an award-winning artist in this category, in the other category, and the other category, and the other category. And then the captain of industry, whom God had graced and given the mandate, the stage, the spotlight, access, opportunity, and the last word.
Decamped.
I wanted to use a harsh word, but then I honor my brand. I'll not use it.
All right.
Yeah.
So What about the final, like politician, final?
Before I go there, it's more precious for me to say, that I would then speak to the artists, particularly the ones in the gospel fraternity, that it's never too late for us to go back to the default settings, okay? Even as you talk about politics and many other things, somebody like me, I had decided to venture into business, farming and politics, okay? So music is still part of the package. I didn't think I wanted to give it 110%. But because of the shenanigans of the recent past, and because by and by, it's now becoming sexy to be a gospel, not a gospel artist, but to be a secular artist who came from gospel. Get the full word.
So that brings me to the question I wanted to ask. Is it that people are using gospel to be a stepping stone into other things, and is it
I wouldn't
sex
blame them.
And then
I wouldn't blame them, okay? Yeah. I wouldn't blame the kids. And again, I wouldn't say that they used the platform. Let's be honest here. Yeah. Everybody is punching in the air hoping to burst a balloon. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Everybody is, busting their ass to make sure that one of their efforts rewards.
Succeeds.
Exactly. So if the platform is there and it's given to you, you wouldn't blame those who are trying to position themselves and to align themselves.
Now, let's do the last song. Not Ugali Sosa. Let's go to Boda Boda. As we end the show.
As we end the show. Yes. I must end the show by saying that I've rebranded from Man Ingwe to Mr. Leopard.
So what is the difference? A leopard is still Ingwe.
A leopard is still Ingwe. The difference is I've traveled quite a bit in the recent past. And my global audience has been struggling to even find me on social media. So you go to a place, you perform, or you speak, and people love it, and they ask you, so can I follow you? And you say Man Ingwe, and a guy types and a party, and I go, what did he say? Did he say Ingwe? Then so I decided to keep the identity, which is Leopard. It is one and the same Ingwe.
Yes.
But Mr. Leopard is
Mr. Leopard.
Yeah, so even my social media handles,
the sports have remained different in English.
Yeah. So my Twitter handle is Mr. Leopard Africa. My fan page is Mr. Leopard Kenya. My Instagram is Mr. Leopard, and all that. Those who still want to call me Man Ingwe, I mean, it's okay. We still call big guys boy and kadogo, so it's okay.
Twende kwa muziki.
Hii ni wrong number, siyo namba ya mbinguni, lakini Bwana Yesu ndiye njia ya uzima, alikufa msalabani kwa sababu yangu, nawe usilie, atakusaidia.
From today henceforth, from this show, The History Makers, he has rebranded. He's taken us through his music, his life, and how he tried that thing when he was in class 3. I will not mention it. And he forgot about it and got saved. And God is gracious, and he's been faithful to him and to us. We thank you, Man Ingwe. Mr. Leopard is his new name. Follow him on all his social pages. And remember to keep watching The History Makers every week on Saturdays. Thank you.